Day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Would you be my neighbor? Everybody, welcome to another edition of Power to the People. Glad everybody's coming on in, coming on in. Welcome, 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 welcome. It is, now I'm going to tell you, if you haven't been outside, now the sun isn't out right now where I'm at, but it is fooling because it's been such decent temperatures. Weather's been, you come outside, it's cold, I'm going to tell you. It is cold. There's people, they already starting to chat? Oh, that's from last week. Are we still on? I think this one is not live.
Oh, hold on.
Because that's still talking about Andy Como. Yeah, it's cold outside, and so if you go out, and I think, and I'm not a meteorologist, but suppose they're saying it's going to snow this weekend. So I'm really hoping that God of the weather, who's also God of the weather, changes his mind. So I really don't want to deal with snow.
Not at all.
Listen, it's already, I know we're at the end. Not necessarily because I got some, is that my phone again?
I think it might be both of ours.
Nope, it's not both of ours.
Oh,
It's
sorry, it was
yours.
mine. Got it.
Because with COVID already and no sun and cold, I'm definitely going to talk about mental health today a little bit because we went to Best Self. If anybody knows anybody from Best Self, tell them I'm going to talk about them in a minute. But you could go to Miami, where a lot of people are right now for spring break, but you got to be in the house at 11.
Wow.
They have issued an emergency order in Miami Beach
Terrible.
because of all of what they're saying, the violence, shootings going on. Who goes to spring break strapped now? It's crazy. So the mayor now has emergency powers and has put a curfew on in Miami Beach.
That's not even worth going to spring break.
You go to spring break, can't go out and get breakfast at 2 a.m.
Nah.
You have to be in, and they are patrolling the streets. And so here's the question. Because this happens at Biker Week now.
Yep.
And they have like city councils saying, we don't want Biker Week in Florida. We don't want it again. But is it violent is the violence because of young people? Is the violence because of ethnicity? Because I'm sure that there is violence at country music western gatherings. And I'm sure at punk rock stuff there is violence.
Absolutely.
So do you think the violence, and I'm just asking a question, I just signed up to be here. Do you think that the attention, because it's a lot of Africans living in America right now at spring break at Miami, what I see are the pictures.
Absolutely.
This does not look like a Dolly Parton fest.
Never is.
Are we more, or is it just being highlighted more because it's Africans in America?
It's always highlighted more when it's us, and I mean us by anyone with a tint to their skin. So and they could be coming from the islands, they could be coming from parts of our country, but it's always going to be magnified when it's us. So, but that's again the system working as it's supposed to.
Because I even think some in schools at times, if you don't have people who are culturally sensitive, like when I was teaching school. Now, listen, some of these teachers call home for everything. He said somebody's mama. Well, when I was teaching school, I had a great control over my classrooms, and I only, and I was right in Buffalo Public Schools. I only had to suspend one student, and once the other students saw, and that was like in my first week. Once they saw that I wasn't going to deal with certain things, they straightened right up. And I didn't call their mother every other day.
But you know what? I think that because I think that we have a way of dealing with our children. Not everybody can deal with our children the same way that we do. And I think in many cases, I think when we had the charter school and some of the teachers that were in there who may not look like us, always had a difficult time managing that class. But when it was African Americans, minorities, they seem to be able to address it easier and a little bit better. And I think that's part of it when you're not culturally sensitive and don't know how to address our children. Because you don't have to be disrespectful and say nasty things to them because you know that parent coming in. When you said something to little JoJo, the wrong thing to JoJo tearing his parent, and they going to come in. And sometimes that's unfortunate because we'll come in for that, but we're going to go in and see about that report card.
Yeah. Elijah Mack the second says, sounds like martial law to me. Is it martial law? You think it's martial law? And Carolyn Lane said, that's awful. With a spring break, why go to be shot? And it's a sad time. I think it is highlighted more. And I think some people are afraid of black people.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to enter this discussion.
But you just have to, because it's the truth. There are some people that just seem like, I think I was on a call earlier, and it just seems like when you're black, you're guilty, but our judicial system, you're innocent until proven guilty. But when it comes to us, it's like seem like we're guilty, and people feel like they have to treat us a different way. No, you just have to be respectful to us.
Well, I watched. I don't know if it was a TikTok. I don't know what I'm watching nowadays. I don't know if it's a TikTok, a TikTok, a Instagram, of a young man the other day who a woman accused him of stealing her son's phone. And she walks out of the establishment. You saw that?
Yep, I saw it.
And he was so calm. And he was like, I don't have the phone. Yeah. And she kept going on, and you're not leaving. And now some would say that, well, that happens with all people. What I'm not seeing on these TikToks, and Instagrams and all of that is it happening a lot the other way. Yeah. And so where some would say, well, you just pulling the race card. Well, okay. Like, I'm okay now with somebody saying you pull. Yes, because it's okay to pull that card until we get better. But this guy was so common. I forgot where they ended up finding the phone, but there's been several out there like that.
Yeah, because it was at a hotel that actually happened, and the father kind of intervened and said that didn't happen.
Oh, not that. You're talking about a few months.
Yeah.
No.
Recent?
Oh,
yeah,
bruh.
This one was in a store.
Gosh, this one was a store. So you have one in a store where there's a woman, and I think they end up eventually calling the phone, and it rings in her purse. And then there's another, and this was a recent one. They're out in the parking lot. And I'm only saying that to say that we do have to continue this conversation about race, and that I'm glad that we are now able to have it where when people say, "Oh, all you're doing is talking about race. It's not that bad." Oh, really? I got some witnesses in the graveyard right now. I got one who had dirty toe, whatever the lawyer said, nasty toes. At the end of the day, we still have to have it. So I'm wondering about this Miami Beach. Now, I do say this because I'm not going to make an excuse for foolish behavior. I'm just not. There is a way to act when away. And if I was there and young people or people are fighting, period, I wouldn't be like, oh, that's okay. Oh, I'm okay on my vacation with you all clowning in the streets. No. So we got to be responsible too.
But I would love to ask: are these acts done by people coming in town visiting, or by people that already live in Miami? Because then that's a difference. If it's the native, I don't know what they call them, natives to Miami, don't punish me because I'm coming down on vacation, because I think that's unfair. But if it is due to the increase in tourism and the crime is by tourists, then I can see the curfew. Because I also think it's very hypocritical, because we all know what built Miami. Cartel, drug money. Like, there is no, like, we just reestablished this great city.
Right,
no,
right.
you built yourself on crime.
Yeah,
So,
and I think I can answer that without being there. That when you talk about who it is, if all year long we ain't having all of this, and then on spring break, it's definitely tourists coming in, and when you put together young people and alcohol and all of that kind of stuff and other substances, you are liable to get what you get. Now, at the end of the day, they are making money off of it. Let's be true. They are making big money off of spring break. Prices go up, all of that. So, a lot going on spring. So I saw that today. Tracy Braxton died. She was one of, and I don't watch the Braxtons that often. I'll catch it once in a while. Never really. I mean, you know, I'm watching Candy right now from Atlanta Housewives.
Right.
People say, "Don't judge me, judge me." I don't care. That's my new saying, judge me. 57 years old, judge me. I get an opinion if I want one.
Yeah, you don't pay me. You don't
I'm a different person. I mean, and I'm getting, I'm so much different in my my maturity of life, of where I'm at. I say what I want, and I don't need agreement, and that's why I tell people, you don't have to defend me. I defend my dad. Go on. So,
You know,
almost.
You know, when you
Woo,
started,
I got to the edge.
when we started doing the talk show, me and you first, speak on, and when I would say things and people wouldn't agree with me, I'd say, "Oh, let me change my mind. Well, that's over now, and I don't do that." Because I remember I'm like, "Oh, let me step back," because they didn't like that. Now it's like,
That's what I said.
That's what I said. And I'm sticking
said
to it.
And it's not that I can't be educated and think a different way or add on to my thinking, but my core beliefs are my core beliefs. And but what is refreshing about this stage of life is I don't expect for everybody to agree with me. So, I got off on a tangent. I was talking about Tracy Braxton. Then I went to Candy, because I do watch the little show, although it ain't as good as Atlanta Housewives. I'm getting kind of bored with the restaurant scene. But anyway, I'm proud of them. I am really proud when African Americans are doing their thing. But trust me, it ain't Candy and them making the money.
That's right.
That man who running that little franchise is the one making the money. Andy is making the money. Had a lot of events yesterday. I saw a lot of people. Let me read some of the comments for it. Marie Collins says, Tracy Braxton kept it real at all times. I was definitely a fan. I have a mug made, say, judge me, Carolyn Lane. I might get one too, because I'm okay. I'm okay with it. Marie Collins said, you sure get what you get now. Yeah, my family calls it Frances Johnson, because that was my grandmother's name. That is my grandmother's name, and whatever came up came out. And sometimes you just be like, Grandma, hold back a little bit, and it just. I understand it now.
My grandmother didn't either.
Yeah, she just said it. I think that there's a relief.
Yeah. And she would be like, if you didn't like it, get out my house.
Bottom line.
Brenda Plowden says, unfortunately, everyone coming to Miami has different motives other than having fun. I believe when they get there, they want to have fun. I just think that, like I said, you put together young people, you put together alcohol, you put together emotions, and I think we have suppressed our emotions so much in these last 2 years.
Absolutely.
And have not had to deal, Rob is here, have not had to deal with our emotions, that now they're just bubbling over, and they're bubbling over everywhere. They're bubbling over everywhere. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that, some of the 5 most common mental health issues in our community when I talk about best health. But I went to a lot of, we went from one event to the other event yesterday. One of them was to the kind of welcoming of the interim superintendent. And that was a wonderful event. I can only stay there for a minute, but you know, we got to be on this now. We cannot just now lean back. Because one of the things that I think that she is going to need immediately is the truth. Now, I said this yesterday. Right now, everybody's applauding. Everybody applauding, and that's fine, and we should. But she needs the real truth of the state of this district.
Absolutely.
And if she does not get the truth, and if she makes the mistake, and I'm not saying she did, I'm just talking, if she makes the mistake of surrounding herself with yes people, we ain't going nowhere.
No.
There has to be, and I've said this before, I'm consistent in saying this, radical change. And if there is not radical change, again, we will have a black person in position without black power. And it's not just about black, because we got black students, white students, but let's be honest. We have some students that gravitate to the better schools, but they've been better prepared. And so she's going to need the truth. She'll be here at True Bethel on Sunday, one of her first stops on her kind of listening tour, introducing herself to the community tour. And so I have time with her, but for the next few minutes, if you could address the school superintendent, or when I address her Sunday in private, what would you want me to say to her? What would you, I don't, when folks come to True Bethel, and I always welcome them here, because at the end of the day, I want them to see the community that they are tasked to work for. But I almost always have a little private time with them. And I think it's imperative for when people come that it's not just a show, but that there's some conversation. Same way I did with every candidate for DA. Always. About the Buffalo 5. Always. I said it in public. And I'm going to say this because people say, oh, you gave so much energy to a sign. Come on, folks. Are you friggin' kidding me? Buffalo 5, Carrier Horn, the laws that we've changed. Give me a break. Give me a break. We've done that heavy lift in this community. So what is it? And you can put it in the chat. You can call me. Go ahead.
And you know, I want to say my hat's off to her and how she started out. You know, the new superintendent is going out listening and not just making assumptions. And I think that that's what we need in leadership. You know, you have your staff people, all that, that's good. But let me see for myself. It's like when someone complains to me about an issue in my district. I'll hear it, but then I want to go see for myself. I want to get the evidence. So I think that listening to her and going through her district and going to school and meeting with folks and hearing from folks is really, really important. But I think at the end of the day, as you stated, about hearing the truth and us supporting her, because some of us, you know, we'll get on the bandwagon. Now as a black woman, blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as a mistake comes out, we're going to dog her.
Or something that is not in her control. Then it's like, well, she should have known, or she should have did this, she should have did that.
Yeah.
Another up-and-coming young man that is just Emmanuel is on, and I'm just going to say his first name because he's stepping into his own shoes. Says, to Dr. Williams' credit, she has been very visible in the community and has been attentive to the needs. It's on us as a community to keep it real with her so she knows what exactly we expect of her. Exactly. Yep. Be honest. When you have a chance to meet her, it should go beyond, I mean, you know, give her a minute, give her the congratulations. But then if there are serious issues or even compliments, let her know so that those things that are working well, we continue. Those things that are not working well, we stop. And I'll just tell you this. my biggest is, and I think Janique, I didn't finish reading her comment, is about our students.
Yep.
And really dealing with the fact that they have been out of in-class instruction for 2 years, and that many of them will not be able to compete on the levels to go to college and better their lives if we do not really, all of this extra money, not the money that came in from the federal government, I just feel needs to be in instruction and more instruction. You know, I'm paying top dollar for tutors right now, and at the end of the day, I'm also paying taxes and paying for the school system. So I want to see that where my kids who are in Buffalo Public Schools, and I'm talking about all the kids, are able to get that extra help that we need, intensive extra help.
And like you said, and just had a coaches meeting on Tuesday, and you know, we're going through our list of recruits and everything. And to hear that we had to have the tough conversation with a kid because his GPA was a 0.94.
Wow.
And his response was, well, when COVID hit and no teachers cared, I just gave up.
That's crazy.
And I was and so, like, you know, the coaches kept going, and I was like, that's a clarion call about our system.
And it's going to be worse.
Right.
Did you had an announcement? Did you want to announce your event? You got a flyer for me? Come on, I'll get you in, and then because I got 3 other topics. Come on in real quick, and I'll get your event. That's like the biggest thing. I'll read some more. Janique says, we want better prepared students who can answer the question on what is their value and how do they plan to make a difference. A 5-year-old can answer that question. Emmanuel says, we also have to deal with the issue of not having bus aides on the bus with the students. Oh, I agree, because that can be a really intimidating place for students, especially when there are children who are acting out. So, all right, talk to us, Rob. I know you stopped by last week. I'm going to get your announcement in.
Last week was just to see you.
All right.
This week, I'm kind of happy. I see 2 of my mentors in one office together. This is incredible seeing both of you guys. But Saturday, I'm starting my first ever mentoring program at the Delavan Grider Community Center called Boys, Building Our Youth Spirits. It's from 2 to 4. This is my first week doing it.
Okay.
We're looking at doing it every other Saturday. You know, and I geared it towards the young men.
Okay.
Because a lot of them need to see that positivity in our community. You know, so I got a lot of super friends coming to help me out tomorrow.
Okay.
You know,
now when is it, and how do people get involved if they want to be involved?
If they want to get involved, come to the Delavan Grider Community Center tomorrow. It starts at 2. I'm doing registration at 1:30.
Okay.
So, and
For what age groups?
We're going from 7th grade to 10th grade.
Okay. 7th grade to 10th grade, they come over to Delavan Grider, and what happens when they get there? What is the program?
Once they get signed up, you know, give me all the information, but you have to come with your parent to sign you up.
Okay.
Come with your information. I have Theatre Duncan coming out. I have Mo Badger coming out. I have Bruce Warwick coming out. I have
Is this so they'll be talking to the young men? Is this what this?
My focus is not just inside the center. Like my friend Lonnie owns a barbershop, so he'll take a kid with him during the week to actually mentor that kid during the week. We can come sweep up at the shop but learn the business.
Yeah.
One of my restaurant owner friends' brothers, he gonna take a kid with him to learn the culinary but learn the business side of it also. So it's not only in the center, we're trying to get them in the community, but
that's
getting
good.
their work skills together also.
That's good, because that's what we're talking about. And so that's a good thing. Tomorrow, Saturday, you'll be there at 11:30, you said?
1:30.
Okay, I got all these numbers. I see 1s and a 30. 1:30. Program starts at 2.
Yes.
They must come with a parent or adult?
Parent or guardian,
Okay,
yes.
good deal. And then they're able to leave them there?
Yes, they're able to leave them there till 4 o'clock.
Okay. So they'll be talking, and what else that'll be going on?
Tomorrow we're going to be talking. Tomorrow's just a get to know you session.
Okay.
So it'll be breakout sessions because I want to do more listening and talking to them tomorrow.
Okay.
Because I want to know where they're headed at and what they're going through and things of that nature. Then from there we can kind of, you know, structure everything we need to do for them going forward.
Okay.
And it's free.
And it's free. tomorrow.
Yes.
Thanks. See, I got you in before you had to go back to work.
I feel so special.
Tell my daughter I said, hey.
Definitely will.
Tashelle Jameson says everyone needs to be held accountable from the top to the bottom. Superintendent, administration, teachers, parents, and students in that order. All right. All right. Well, she's a teacher, so she can say that. How can she assist us with this? It's not always the fault of teachers. I'm willing to do the work. And I totally agree. I think, and I've said this before, anybody who doesn't see education as a crisis, and especially, I don't know about any other city except Buffalo. If we don't see it as a crisis, we've missed it.
Absolutely.
And I said it a couple weeks ago. I'm going to say it again. First of all, I'm 10 toes down for supporting Ukraine. I'm going to say that over and over. And I actually brought something about other places that need support, of places of color.
Yep.
But I'm not going to take that back of supporting Ukraine. What is happening in Ukraine is horrible. It is unthinkable. It is unimaginable. And the world should pay attention. But I've got two things. One is we need as much attention and infusion of help in probably most cities' public school systems. Probably, especially in areas of poverty. Because if you really want to talk about justice, education is the best way to get to justice. When you see a black woman about to sit on the Supreme Court, the first black woman on the Supreme Court in this nation's history, and see her get beat down, and that's okay, because that's politics. She's still gonna get there. See, a black eye is all right if you still get to where you're going. Take the black eye.
Absolutely.
But did you get what you wanted at the end? But she's there because of education. Let's not. I'm going to say this because I know some folk are deeper than me. There's many people. Most people are probably deeper than me, and they'll say, "No, the Lord can just put you there." Yeah, yes, the Lord. You're going to need the help of God, but trust me, if you don't have an education, that's part of the responsibility of self. And she would not be there without that education. And if we're going to talk about, if you want to know, to me, the new racism, the newest area of racism, not the newest, but the largest area right now, it's not in jobs, it's in education. Because we're talking about the future and how the future is going to be so affected if we don't get this.
And there was a good reason why when the slave learned how to read, that slave was killed. They didn't want you to be educated. They wanted you to be hampered without the lack of knowledge. There's good reason why Thurgood Marshall and those civil rights leaders stood strongly for making separate to equal not equal. It needed to be equal. And so this is a crisis, and there are so many who don't see it. You know, I remember my mom coming to school and checking on me and making sure my grades were right. We have a responsibility too. The system has a responsibility. We have to overhaul the system, like you said. It has to be dramatic change. But we can be a part of the catalyst to make that change. But when we don't see, when a teacher doesn't see you coming and talking and discussing and having conversation about your child, then why should you think that they should do it? They're not going to do it automatically. We have to demand that. And like you said, the sister who's standing amongst those mean and hateful individuals who is going to be a Supreme Court justice would not be there had she not been prepared and had the education and had people who supported her. So we have to do the same thing. We have an opportunity with Tanja in place, Dr. Williams. We have to step up and we have to make sure we give her the support to make the changes so that our children can benefit from.
Yeah, I agree. I think real practical stuff, let's just talk practical. Making sure the children do their homework. But then
they will hold back up. Make sure the children get to school.
Come on now.
There you go.
Okay.
That's step one. Step one.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
And then the school district has to make available information to the parent. because I've got one kid in private school that I can look right away, and another kid that I get a call that something ain't been handed in for 3 months, and it's like, but we looking on this parent portal where we supposed to be looking, and it ain't no information here. Ain't no information. But I agree with you. First, get your children to school. Second, make sure they're doing the work.
Right.
I'm going to say this, and everybody can get mad at it because I'm dealing with it in my own house. I'm not talking to people. I'm telling people what I'm going through. I'm trying to make sure I limit this game time. Because if not, if children don't have any parameters, you walk in my house, it's homework. Is look at the schedule, because you got chores in my house, and they're specific and they're written and they're on the wall, and then it's going to be checked like it's the Army, because I want to make sure I'm raising boys. My son did something yesterday that made me so proud. Jamie's 14 years old. I came in the house, the washing machine is going, and I said, yesterday he had to clean the bathroom. He said, Pops, I'm putting these rugs in the, and he didn't put it on the right cycle. But I didn't care. I told him, I said, hey, when you put in heavy duty, make sure you put it on heavy duty. I explained that to him. Come in yesterday, clothes washing. Now, what I don't like in my house, and I don't know about your house, you can't wash 2 items.
Oh, no. Absolutely not.
And they don't wash. They don't, they'll put the clothes in.
Right.
So I said, who's washing? He said, oh, I put my school clothes in. And I said, wait, how many pieces are in there? He said, my hamper was full. So I'm the one that does the washing at home, because I told you, I love to wash. So usually they'll bring them down. I have it all where they separate it. Every bin is marked, darks, towels, whites, and you just separate out your clothes.
Speaking of, did you ever finish that project?
No. So they're all on the floor.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's been since the girls were little. In our laundry room, and we have like a little laundromat in the house, so we have several wash and dry. I don't have to separate. So when the whites get full, I just dump them in the white, and it's over. But he washed his whole bin. And that made me so proud, except I was like, how much detergent? You know, because kids start doing something, they want to put 3 cups of detergent in there.
I don't need all that.
But that's what I'm trying to raise, is independent young men to be able to go out here and handle it in this world. And you can't get that on the game.
And that was me. I started doing laundry, I think by the time I was 10.
Wow.
I was cutting the grass by 12. So like you said, it's those things that you got to start young, because you can't tell an 18-year-old, hey, start washing your clothes. They're going to be like, what?
I agree. I didn't learn how to wash clothes until I was 15.
Yeah.
But it was the month before I was on my way to college, because I was 16.
That's right.
A couple months before. So it was because I was going to college, and my mother said, you got to know how to wash your clothes. And so I learned then, because I'm an only kid, so she just washed everything. Did I even fold? I think my mother just washed and folded and put it away. But now, because Monique was doing the same thing, and I'm like, yo, no, let's not do that. Take the clothes, separate them, let them, now what I got to work on is their drawers, because I've told them, now my drawers are, you go
military.
Everything is, the whites got to be, and do not mix things. I don't like, they can touch, but only but they can't be mixed. All of the brown socks are in a bin, marked, all earth colors. The socks for black, all marked. Ties in bins, all marked, and that's how I can't function with everything together. It's a little part of me. Marie Collins says, my grandson wouldn't even get on the bus last week because his driver wasn't seated yet. When she got situated, he got on the bus. School board caucus is April 2nd. We need those interested to show up and hear from the people who will be working with Dr. Williams. I agree. If you can give me some more information on that, I'll announce it right here. Ina says we need to work together for all children. And everybody's in agreement. Daphne says a Harvard education, yes. Carolyn Lane, I worked as a bus aide years ago, wow, and retired from school system 3 years ago, and it's well beyond unbelief. Parents be one first. Daphne says, yes, I sit on the interview review committee for the district. I'm almost done, y'all. Daphne says, please, oh, wow, I didn't know she said on there. Please understand that many of teachers are also doing other things outside of classroom. Karima Morris is making sure our missing children are found, and Darren Costner, a TA, burying them. I might be reading that wrong.
No,
we are all
teacher
10 toes
assistant.
down. Oh, okay. May Bynum, we're standing in generational curses that we have come up out of here. We are responsible, we see, and now we got to do something for our future. What were you about to say, Rashid?
Yeah, I think that we parents, we as community people, have to be more engaging. Because, I mean, it just seems like to me sometimes we point fingers. And let me say this, too. Sometimes the system doesn't allow us to be engaging. But it's sometimes you get burned. You know, people come and they scream and they holler and they cursing you. And you're like, I'm not having that, so I'm not going to do it. But we can come to them because this is critical. We're the third poorest of our size. And if we can't strengthen our educational system with someone who graduated from our Buffalo Public Schools. We graduated from Buffalo Public Schools. Our system can work, but it takes parents and the community and our school system working together. But we got to be there. And it's like my mom, I thank my mom so much because I know as a little boy, I was a bad kid.
Right.
And she would come to school, and when she came to school, she wasn't coming to look at the teacher. She was coming for me. Because sometimes we have to know our children aren't always, they're not good all the time.
That's right.
They have problems.
Sure
but
wasn't.
let's address it the right way, and let's not send the wrong message. Because some of these kids now feel empowered. Because mama going to come to school and go off, even though the kid is doing something wrong in the classroom and disrupting the other kids from learning. But I do believe we have an opportunity. But are we going to take advantage of this opportunity? Are we going to let it fall through the cracks again? Then we're going to complain about our children not getting a good education because we do have someone that seems to have an understanding of our community and understand the issues. But like you said, Bishop, she has to get the right information. People have to be honest with her.
You got it. Go ahead,
And
Mark,
I'm
and
just
then I
gonna
want to
say,
give these other five.
Last comment, because you mentioned about how you feel that there's still a race issue with our education system. And I think people have to realize that was one of the last pieces in this country that was segregated. And it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
So it's not like, we're talking about the abolishment of slavery in 1860. We're talking like 1960 when we're just trying to break down this power struggle. So we're less than 60 years.
Yep.
And we're still fighting that battle.
Yep, I agree. So we got to this conversation talking about helping Ukraine, which again, I'm all in. But I want you to notice, and I found this about 5 humanitarian crises that deserve as much attention as Ukraine. Number 1, hunger crisis in Ethiopia.
Yep.
In November 2020, a civil war erupted in Ethiopia's northern region, which began as political turmoil between the prime minister and the Liberation Front. And I won't go into all of it. The point is, I'm going to read this part. Thousands of Ethiopians have been killed and millions have been forced from their homes as the condition of the country continues to deteriorate. We hear nothing. Cameroonian civil war. These are all people of color.
I was going to say, these locations seem
Yes,
quite...
conflict between Cameroonians military and separatist forces. According to the Human Rights Watch, the conflict has resulted in 4,000 civilian deaths, more than 712,000 displaced from their homes, and more than 1.3 million in need of humanitarian aid. Number 3, violence in Sudan.
Man, these places.
Since February 2003, the government of Sudan has been in constant conflict with 2 rebel groups in Darfur. We've been hearing about this region of the country, the Sudan Liberation Movement and the Justice and Equality Movement. The genocidal violence in Darfur has been some of the worst this world has seen. Hundreds of thousands of civilians were killed during a a campaign of ethnic cleansing against non-Arabs in Darfur by Sudan's president, and it goes on. In the past year alone, 420,000 Africans were forced to flee from their home in the Darfur. Number four, dysfunction in Haiti. And I've been to Haiti. I have walked the grounds of Haiti to help in Haiti. After the assassination of the president in 2021, gang violence, kidnapping have crippled the country. In August 2021, Haiti was hit with a 7.2 magnitude earthquake, which further hurt. More than 2,100 people were injured. Tens of thousands are left without homes. And let me tell you, when I went to Haiti years ago, it was a rough place. And now the Dominican Republic, of course, they're building walls. They trumping them right now because they are building walls to make sure that the Haitians do not cross over into Dominican Republic, and doing massive sweeps in the Dominican Republic for Haitians that have been there, some of them all of their lives, have never been in Haiti. And if they're not documented, they are taking them to the border and dropping them on the other side. And some of these folks do not have contact with their families because their families may be in Dominican. In Dominican, there were many Haitians there. And now that Haiti, so many more Haitians want to come, they are putting them out.
And I'm wondering if they took this stance since Trump did what he did at our border in putting children and families in cages and whatnot. I wonder if they took note of that.
I don't know. I can't read this other one, but it's another African country. My printer cut off. My point is, I think that America has to be as concerned about these places of color that have people of color as we are in other parts of the country. Because, and if we don't talk about it and we never advance it and we don't talk about it to our elected representatives in DC, I'm not saying that we are not. I'm sure there is some type of humanitarian effort, but it is not talked about at the level at times that other places are talked about. The whole Israeli-Palestine conflict, you know, when is that ever going to be over where one side is bombing, the other side is bombing? It continues to go on. And I know, again, what Russia is doing is at a whole, I'm not going to say a whole nother level, because you have other people in these other countries who are displaced too. And I think we have to be mindful of that it is not just Ukraine, that it is people of color also.
And I was going to just say this, and we can't also forget what Ukraine did when they had thousands of African students that they wouldn't let out of the country. So, like you said, even in the middle of we standing up for Ukraine, they had their own issue dealing with people of color because they were just trying to get back to Africa. They were students in Ukraine just trying to get back to Africa, and they were literally like, oh, no, you ain't getting on our stuff, get out. Like, so it's a problem even when you are trying to assist those that need assistance.
I agree. But the number one thing of that discussion, our kids' education. Because we can help the world, but if we don't help ourselves, then the students that's going to need to help the world in the next 10 years won't have the tools for it.
And I think it's really clear how far the U.S. has fallen in the standing of education. I mean, we used to be one of the top 5 countries in education. Now we're like 25, 26. I mean, that's crazy. And I think that when we start searching our heart, even as far as, you know, our race relations, I mean, it wasn't far long ago that Katrina occurred. And how our folks were left to die. And so sometimes we have to be reminded that we have this fight still going on. And I think a lot of it has to do with us, too, staying engaged. So many times, you know, like last night we had this meeting regarding the police chief. We had a decent turnout, but with all the problems we've had for policing, you would have thought that people would have came out in a large way, and they didn't.
Let me say this. Let me say this. I've learned this over these 11 years of being elected, 27 years of pastoring. Many people will complain, but they won't. Some of them who complain won't participate. And at the end of the day, again, where people, why y'all not doing this? Why? And then when you do it, they're not there. They're not there. And last night was a great opportunity to ask them. You did a good job. We were there in bringing the community out. But I'll tell you, probably a quarter of the people that were in that room are at everything. And so you have people go, well, this is wrong, that's wrong, and then don't work together. Some of them. Thank God for the ones who do. But go ahead.
Yeah. And so we have to stay vigilant, because we'll get hot and cold. Things are cooled down, or everything is cool. Then when something happens, then we want to jump up and scream and holler when we can do the work now. Last night was a great opportunity for individuals to get in the loop of having conversation with this commissioner, because there's still policing issues that we have to address. But we're not going to address them when it happens. We have to do it pre-work, do our pre-work. Like we've been pushing for tasers, non-lethal weapons, all these things we've been doing before we got to this point of what happened last week, the Common Council. So we doing our work, but we need the public to engage. I tell folks in my district all the time, please come out when I have these meetings. I can't come to everybody's house. You say, oh, I haven't seen you. I got community meetings that you can come to that we want you to be involved, because the public needs to hear, or these commissioners and all these different folks need to hear from you, not just the elected official.
Absolutely.
But we have to stay engaged, especially as it relates to education. I totally agree with you.
And one of the things, and then I'm going to move on to the next topic, that in Ellicott, and I said this to a group of Fruit Belt folks yesterday, is this is what I'm committing, is to make sure we press out more information to our community. Because what I'm realizing is that, number one, some people in the community don't know because they don't know. It's not of their fault.
Right.
And then some know but act like they don't know. So I'm going to push as much information out there, and even Ellicott has a meeting coming up, stakeholders meeting, because we haven't been able to meet in person in so long. But I think you are totally correct. Last night went to Best Self. Yes. They had a dinner for Black leadership. Now, I thought it was just going to be a little small dinner at the Buffalo Club in a little corner somewhere. It was huge. A lot of people there. And when I didn't get a chance to stay and be there for the entire thing, Pastor Henning spoke at Bishop Hennings. So when I left, I contacted somebody who was there. And I said, tell me what tonight was about. Now, and I'll be honest, I thought it was just going to be a commercial, because we get invited to all this stuff and they just want to tell you what they do. And it wasn't. It was really their effort to continue lifting up Black leadership and encouraging people who had hiring power to hire Black. And what I've been told is that a lot of the top people at Best Self-Help, am I saying that right?
Behavioral health.
Behavioral health. Many of them are people of color who started at a low end as far as employment and have climbed their way up. And they were encouraging, and I guess the executive director or CEO or whomever is encouraging that type of diversity in companies. So I want to say big ups to them, congratulations to them, and thank you for lifting up people of color and not being ashamed to say it, and not just doing it in Black History Month.
Say it again.
Right? Because that's sometimes that's
right.
the only time. So, and this was an employee who is a personal friend, so they did not have to, they could have told me anything, but they were like, no, they really have this commitment to doing that. And I know two of our licensed mental health specialists from the church work there, and others that I don't even know about who go to the church. So that's a big thing, mental health. And the reason I wanted to bring that up, and I said I'd spend a little time in most shows talking about mental health, because this is so important. The 3 most common mental health disorders in America. The millions of Americans, and I got this from Access Community Health, millions of Americans live with mental health issues. Thankfully, the conversation is shifting from taboo to a more public and healthy approach. And one of them is, these are the top 3 according to this site: anxiety disorders, According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, this disorder is highly treatable, folks, but around 37% of those affected actually receive treatment. It is common to be diagnosed with both anxiety and depression. Symptoms can include excessive worrying, used to be me, sometimes still is me, feeling agitated, still is me. Restlessness still is me. I'm tense.
That's you.
Fatigue, not me. Tense muscles, not me. Difficulty sleeping, definitely me. And panic attacks, not me. A diagnosis for anxiety can only be made by a medical professional. So you see how I just talked myself out of it? No, you need a medical professional. Major depressive disorder. This disorder is more prevalent in women than men. According to this, some of the symptoms, and I'm not going to go, include depressed mood, diminished interest or pleasure.
That's always big in depression.
Yep. Change in weight, appetite, and sleep patterns, fatigue, and feeling of worthlessness.
Yeah.
Now, some of that I have gone through in my life.
Yep.
This can only be diagnosed with a consultation with a medical professional. Don't self-diagnose yourself. And then finally, bipolar disorder affects men and women equally. The median age for diagnosed bipolar disorder is around 25 years old, but it can develop later in life as well. Those who suffer from bipolar disorder experience manic episodes where their moods and behaviors are drastically different than normal. These changes can include unusual energy, activity, or sleep pattern. Diagnosis for bipolar disorder may include a physical exam, a psychiatric evaluation, and charting of your own mood over time. Here's my point on this. Don't try to self-diagnose.
Or self-medicate.
Don't do it. Go get help. Finally, I want to thank store owner, his name is Muhammad, has a place on Jefferson and Peckham. Got complaints about a mural outside of his store, Bart Simpson smoking a blunt with a backpack on. Took a picture of it, made it public, went into the store to talk to him. He wasn't there. I want to say when he heard and thought about it, he immediately covered that sign up. A man was at a funeral the next day who lives down the street. He came up to me and he said these words. He said, your action, he said, he was an older gentleman. He said, I don't do the internet and all that. He said, but I saw your posts and I don't necessarily agree with this. He says, your actions last night helped to seal your legacy of standing up for our people. And he said he was going to go and paint it over himself. But the gentleman listened and then came to the office so excited about a new mural, and with a positive message, and with an African American. I don't know if he started that mural or not.
It's done.
It's done?
But he didn't put the actor on there. What they did was they did the Buffalo skyline, and he put the saying under.
Wow, cool.
Yeah,
so, some people are upset with me. Why would he should leave it up. What troubles me a little bit about that is that we are real easy to allow our own community to be treated anyway, and then be the main one saying they wouldn't allow that in North Buffalo, they wouldn't allow that. So if we don't allow it, and somebody, well, you using all this energy for that, that's not true. It was a picture. It wasn't a whole lot of energy, and it got changed in a day. The same energy that I use when people are putting crap up on poles about buy your houses, and then seniors are calling it not knowing it's a scam. The same energy that we did with police reform and continue to do with police reform, the same energy that we're trying to get money back into people's pockets who have lost their house to auction, the same energy, and I'll go on and on and on and on, because the one thing that I do every day when I get up and go to these offices is work. And I got the receipts of the work. Go and look at the Common Council agenda, and not only things that we have put forward, but things that we've got fixed. So at the end of the day, I think we have to stop being enemies of those who are trying to do our communities better. It's not acceptable. And I'll put it this way. If he had to put a weed leaf on the building, I wouldn't have said a thing. You know why? It's illegal. The trouble for me is at a school bus stop with a child smoking a blunt with a backpack on. And I know what people say, and they did say it. Well, Bart Simpson isn't a cartoon character for kids. It's right there in their face. And so regardless, I'm concentrating more on his actions of taking it down and hearing from a community, because to me, that's good community.
And another thing, Pastor, you don't have to talk about what you've done. Your legacy is already sealed, because before you were elected official, you were doing this stuff, and you weren't.
Not me. We.
Well, but I'm saying you led this because that was your heart from day one. And the things that we do are because they're the right things to do. When the tobacco industry and the liquor industry said we cannot put liquor on these billboards anymore,
yes,
when we can't put cigarettes on billboards anymore, it's a reason. Because who does it affect more than anybody?
Us.
African Americans.
Us.
And so when we stand up for each other, for the images that our children see, for anybody to take that frivolously, shame on you, because that's the problem. We are easy to go along with some stuff that affects our children. The images they see are very important, just like the litter that they see in their neighborhood.
Oh man, don't even start with that.
They think that that's okay. It's not okay. And no,
some people think it's okay because they're doing it.
Yeah.
McDonald's bags are not just falling out of cars on their own. The other day I had diapers. I'm like, are you friggin' kidding me? It's not acceptable. Yeah. And when a store owner sees it and changes it, I gotta say, big ups to him. And he's young, and so even when he came in the office, so he's sitting in the chair, and I walked out of my office and I put up my hands. I said, "What are you doing to me?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And it was a good moment. And it is a moment that I will cherish, to be honest, because I didn't have to have the inspectors go out. I didn't have to do this. I didn't have to do that. I didn't have to talk about city codes. It was just that the community, and there are some in that community that wanted that, and I'm okay with that. At the end of the day, though, I think you cannot complain that on certain sides of town, because let's be honest, here's you, and we got to go, but the dag if you do, dag if you don't. When I first got elected, it was like, oh, we don't have any housing. We don't have any housing. We don't have any housing. Now you got new affordable housing going up all over. And that's not because of Darius. That's because of the administration. That's because of the federal government. That's because of state government money. These things are being built with state government money. That's because of Crystal Peoples-Stokes. That's because of Tim Kennedy. That's because of the Common Council. And then you have people going, well, why are they putting new houses up over here? They're going to squeeze us out. Goodness gracious, you don't get it all. But that's why we have to have ourselves together, so that we can live wherever we want to and that we can afford it. I got to get ready to go because I got to go ahead.
You just said it a couple of times. I just saw a message that T.D. Jakes recently preached, and it was literally entitled, "No Receipts, No Respect."
Come on now. Sunday I'm preaching the pot calling the kettle black. Hobson's, the doctor of dry cleaner, 874 East Delavan. Did you hear me? Hobson's, the doctor of dry cleaning. Listen, whatever you got, take it over to Hobson's. I got a bin full right now to take over to Hobson's, the doctor of dry cleaning. In your hour of need, Brian K. Lewis Funeral Home, 3 locations to serve you: 347 Peckham, 2528 Bailey, 1275 Sycamore. In your hour of need, Brian K. Lewis Funeral Home. I'll leave with this. Maxine Murphy says, I'm cleaning up in my area every day. We all have to do our part in cleaning up. Amen. I agree. Until next week, I'm throwing it over to you, Shad. Power to the people.